So about 2 weeks ago, we reported that after what felt like forever, graphics card pricing finally got off the sauce and had started to come back down to semi-sober levels, even in the used market. Well, that report is as true now as it was then. Graphics card prices in both the new and used markets have continued to get the help that they needed and are on the fast track to recovery. But as I talked about in a video yesterday, you should still not buy them, mostly because the improved pricing is still flippity-doo-dah. There's little reason to think that pricing won't drop even lower in the coming months, especially since we're expecting new NVIDIA and maybe even new AMD cards, except for this stupid 500X crap that they're pulling. So friends, I'm gonna give you a little scoop. This is the first time that UFD Media is expanding into a second channel that we're actually gonna upload on regularly. We're gonna be starting the UFD Deals channel because the UFD Tech Deals videos that we've been doing are great. I love continuing to do them, but I think that they belong on their own separate channels. So I would ask you guys, if you're interested in checking out daily tech deals, get subscribed to that channel. Link will be in the video description or also in the top right-hand corner. If you want to get subscribed for daily tech deals on the daily, we do everything that's involved in tech and just try to keep you updated on good prices. And if you wanted to see GPU prices, you definitely should check that out. Anyways, that's the little plug. We have a new channel. Get subscribed to that, please, if you're interested. Anyways, so buying used cards right now doesn't make sense. But what if you can't wait that long? What if you just want a reliable RX 580 or GTX 1070 for dirt cheap instead of one of them newfangled future cards with the ray tracers, quantum drives, and six-figure price tags? Well, if that's the case, you'll probably be moseying on down to the secondhand market sometime soon for some great deals. Unfortunately, discerning a great deal from a potato GPU is harder now than ever, which is where this video comes in. In the next few minutes, we're gonna try to arm you with most of the info that you'll need to spot bad GPU deals and ensure you're not getting a card that's DOA or on its last leg. But first, here's the reality of the situation. The used market often gets a pretty bad rap, but it's usually far worse than it should be. The rap, that is, not the market versus the reality. For the most part, people who buy and sell used parts online are tech enthusiasts or gamers just like any of us. We're looking to snatch up or sell good parts for less than what they're going for new. That being said, it can still be a pretty risky endeavor, one that's seemingly made even more so thanks to the most recent mining boom. Because profitability isn't what it used to be, miners have been flooding their cards into the used market for a while now, and just like said market, these cards get a bad rap of their own. People assume that because they were used to mine coin 24/7, that they're close to their breaking point by the time they pop up for sale again. And while not an entirely unreasonable assumption to, make, it's usually not the full story. See, any miner who really knows what they're doing will often take better care of their cards than your average gamer. They tweak their cards to run as efficiently as possible and diligently try to keep temperatures in check. In order to do that, they'll undervolt their cards, significantly reduce core clock speeds, and I'm betting in many cases try to keep them mostly dust free. All measures that can help cards last longer and keep temperatures far below what they would be in a typical gaming session at stock settings, because any type of downtime that miners have is lost profits. Now, of course, that's not always the case, and even with all of those measures taken, cards that have been constantly mining for a year or 3 are more likely to pick up some issues along the way compared to gaming only cards, and we're not going to deny that, especially with, tweaked BIOSes and overclocked memory frequencies. Mostly though, you're far more likely to get a mining graphics card with a faulty fan or 2 rather than one with a faulty graphics processing unit. That's partly why mining specific cards usually ship with only a 3-month warranty after all, on the new market that is, the mining GPUs. But no matter the applications they were used for, buying used graphics cards can be relatively risky, whether it's gaming or mining. But there are some things you can do to mitigate that risk a little. Things like make sure you know who you're dealing with. You wouldn't download a PC, you wouldn't download a fridge. Wait, no, sorry, wrong script. You wouldn't trust a random stranger in the street with your money, so don't trust a random stranger online with it either. Unfortunately, there are a good number of people online who love taking advantage of people who are far too trusting for their own good, like my great Aunt Louise. She just had, bless her heart, she's such a kind soul, but she'll buy a graphics card from anybody. So with that in mind, you need to be able to tell whether you're dealing with a reputable seller or a scammy McScammerton. But how? Because, as this XKCD comic points out, you can ship a Bobcat once every 30 shipments and still have a 90% approval rating. That is bananas. Well, luckily for us, most good marketplaces have a handy rating system in place to help you identify what's good and what's a Bobcat. These systems allow users to rate buyers and sellers according to the experience they've had with them. Sellers who have been active for a while and have accrued more than a few positive ratings are far less likely to rip you off than the ones with either 0 ratings or negative ratings. Reputation in the used market is a big deal thanks largely to rating systems like this, and those who want to continue selling or buying on these sites aren't in a hurry to sell you a dud and get a bad rating in the process, unless again they're the guy with the Bobcat. And keep in mind that if you're buying from sites that have no rating processes whatsoever and you can't identify the seller, you should probably steer clear altogether. And second, know what you're getting before handing over your cash. So as helpful as rating systems are, they can't entirely stop bad apples from spoiling the bunch, and some sites don't even have similar systems in place. In those cases, and in all cases, whether the seller is reputable or not, because aforementioned Bobcat situation, it's to your benefit to do some digging. There's no guarantee that the card that you want to buy will be in the working condition as stated in its listing, or that the card even exists in the first place. How many videos can you find on YouTube about the people who buy these graphics cards from these, foreign selling sites to find out, oh, hey, this is a 750 Ti that they managed to flash to be a 1080 Ti, and now I have a piece of crap. Which is why you shouldn't be afraid to ask questions, request more information, or ask to test the card if you're unsure about anything. One of the biggest red flags you should be wary of is a listing devoid of any photos or ones that only picture stock images of the card. Pretty much any site that's worth its salt will allow sellers to post images along with their listings, and taking a photo of the card you're selling really doesn't take that much time. Everybody has a freaking smartphone, so there's no excuse for not including one. At least one. You should have dozens of them. The only reason sellers might not include pictures with their listing is if they don't actually have a card to sell in the first place, or it's so obviously broken or damaged that no one in their right mind would buy it, or they're super lazy. In any of those instances, not a good thing to do. So if you suspect something like that is going on, you should request that the seller post pictures of the card, and just to be extra safe, ask them to write their username on a piece of paper and have that included in the same photo as the card. If they write it on a current newspaper displaying the correct date or something similar, that would be an added bonus, because how are they gonna find newspapers in this day and age? So if the listing does include photos of the card, or the seller provided you with the ones you requested, great, done deal, right? No, not so fast there, hombre. While all of that is great and all, you likely still have nothing other than the seller's word, however much you trust it, confirming that the card actually works as detailed. For all you know, the card could look in amazing shape, but then nuke your entire house as soon as you plop it into your system. Maybe not that extreme, possibly though, but still, you need to make sure that the card you're buying actually works and works well without any issues, unless otherwise specified by the seller. In cases where you're completely comfortable with the deal from the get-go, this is usually only done once you've handed over your cash and start testing the card when you get it home and you slap it in your dear old Sally rig. But if you're not all that trusting, which you shouldn't be if you're not dealing with a well-known established seller, you should ask to see the card in action before parting with your hard-earned cachola. This should be a simple procedure if you arrange to make the exchange at either the seller's house, business, or your place. Simply request to run the card through a few benchmarks, around 15 minutes or so should do the trick. If you'll be making the exchange in a public space where neither of you can actually test the card on the spot, or you chose to have the item shipped, request that the seller take a video of the same procedure being done. Now, during these benchmarks, you'll need to look out for a few signs that might point to the card being all screwy. If you notice artifacting, crashing, unusual sounds coming from either the card itself, or from its fans, or the stranger, or it has a strange burning smell wafting off of it. If you're testing it in person, obviously, or any other strange anomalies, you should probably steer clear. Similarly, if possible, pay close attention to the card's clock speeds and temperatures using a monitoring program like MSI's Afterburner. If temps go too high, 80s or 90s, I mean even sometimes high 70s depending on the card and the fan speed, or the clock speeds aren't what they're supposed to be, there's probably reason to be cautious about going through with the sale. And while we're on the topic, if you're dead set against buying a card that was used for mining, even if it's proven to work perfectly, there's really no way to tell whether or not that's the case. Even if the seller states that it's never been used for mining or something similar. Sure, on some cards where you can mess around with BIOSes, like most of AMD's cards, a non-original BIOS is a bit of a giveaway, but even then, sellers can just restore the BIOS to the stock version and you'd be none the wiser. So here are some other precautions to take and things to be aware of. So while the steps and precautions we've talked about so far should give you a pretty good idea of some of the most important things to account for and be careful of when buying a second-hand card, there are a few other things that you would do well to remember, my friend. So here's a quick breakdown. If the deal looks too good to be true, it probably is. It's a cliche statement, but it's cliche because it's true. You're not likely to find a GTX 1070 for $150 right now, just as you're not likely to find an RX 588 gig go for $100 right now. Not yet. If you find a card right now that's going for a heck of a lot less than even its official MSRP, there's a 95% chance that you're looking at a scam, my friend. The leftover 5% chance is the likelihood that it's not a scam and that you'll get the card, but you'll also be abducted by aliens for gross testing purposes. Don't do that. The newer generation of cards are your safest bet. NVIDIA's Pascal or AMD's Polaris or Vega cards should be the first ones on your list if you're looking at buying a used card right now. They've only been around for less than 2 years, which means that with the typical GPU warranty period of around 3 years, many of them are likely still covered. If the listing of the card states that they're still under warranty, be sure to ask for the original receipt or whatever else you need in case something were to go wrong. If the card isn't listed as still being under warranty, you should 1, be a little suspicious, and 2, ask why it's not under still the warranty. That made no sense. Ask why it's not under the warranty still. There's probably a good reason behind it, but just ask to be sure. Also, some marketplaces like eBay and sellers offer refunds if something does turn out to be wrong with your card. So if that sounds good to you, try only deal on said sites with said sellers. And also, there are some manufacturers that will allow you to RMA or return the card under warranty without actually having the original proof of payment. I'm including a link in the video description of a kind of compilation of different GPU manufacturers who kind of go by certain books. Most of them will not allow you to RMA them if you do not have the original proof of purchase. It's not based on the serial number, it's based on who bought it, which is kind of garbage, but at the same time, it's something you should be aware of. If you know that the person doesn't have the proof of payment, or you might lose it yourself, be sure to go with a GPU from a manufacturer who will allow you to return it based on its serial number and the fact that it should still be under warranty. And then finally, be safe and be smart. If you choose to collect your newly used card in person, ask to meet in a predefined public space, or if you don't mind having the deal go down at their place or yours, do try to have a friend along with you. Chances are you won't be meeting up with a murderer or thief, but it's better to be safe than dead or robbed. And that's basically it, really. Buying cards used isn't much different from buying anything else used. Sure, there are a few extra steps in making sure the card works before you buy it, but the takeaway is the same. Be smart and do your research and due diligence before wheeling and dealing. If you can do that, if you can actually pay proper attention to all the precautions that you should be having, rest assured that you'll be getting a terrific card at a terrific price that'll probably last you longer than you even need it to. And then there's even the issue which probably people have been shouting at me from the beginning of the video is, Brett, why aren't you addressing the fact that mining cards will likely die sooner? It's the opportunity cost, my friends. If the seller can guarantee you that, yes, I have mined on this, but yes, I've had it underclocked, I've had it running at a specific temperature in a climate-controlled room, this is the system that it was belonging in while it was mining, these are the risks, I'm going to give it to you X amount below what the other used gaming cards are selling for, it's an opportunity cost. Would you rather have a card that has a lower mean time before failure than one that has a higher mean time before failure? Because chances are, my friends, in most instances, obviously there are outliers, the graphics card's not gonna die on you before you upgrade to a new one. That's just the sheer reality. No matter how hard it was run in the mines, the chances of it burning out on you besides the fans is not very high. A card exploding on you is not a high percentage. But guess what? Even if it was just a gaming card, even if you buy a card new, the chances of it exploding are not as high either, but it happens to people. It just happens. And you can't blame it on the fact that it's a mining card, because that's just what graphics cards do. Yes, I'm going to admit that graphics cards that have been used for a longer extended period of time have been put under longer strenuous conditions and therefore have a shorter lifespan. That's absolutely true. But it's also the same with the person who plays WoW with it for 14 hours a day or 24 hours a day and just leaves their computer running. It's the same exact thing. Like, they're not rated to run for any specific period of time, so it doesn't matter what situation it's being used for, mining or gaming. If it's used for an extended period of time, it also has a reduced lifespan. The biggest thing to take away from this video, though, is don't trust anybody and talk your ever-living head off, and don't be afraid to ask questions, because the people who avoid the obvious questions or the questions that should have obvious answers, there are easy answers to provide, likely either one, are super annoyed and have no time to deal with you, or two, are trying to hide something. I'm of the former camp. When people are just like, please send me a picture, I'm just like, homie, I don't have time for this. I'm either selling it to somebody who doesn't want a picture, or I'm not selling it to you. Either way, I don't care. I'm a peculiar bunch whenever I sell used stuff. It's just like, I'm selling it way below MSRP because I just don't want to get rid of it. I have no desire to haggle. I'll sell an RX Vegas 64 for $300 just to get rid of it if it's not selling at anything higher. Anyways, I'm an outlier. I'm not the typical seller. I'm very much frustrated with my ability to anyways, I'm not going down that road. Anyways, let me know what your tips and strategies are for making sure that you're getting an okay deal when you're buying a used graphics card. Let me know what deals you have gotten with your used graphics cards, either down in the community Discord, which is the top link in the video description, or in the comments down below. Be sure to smash the like button if you found any of this helpful, and you could, maybe get behind the idea of that we're trying to warn people not to buy from shady people. Smash the like button, get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. Do not forget to subscribe to our UFD Deals channel in case you want some deals on the daily. Be sure to link the top there, subscribe, also in the description, it's gonna be there. Anyways, I'm Brett with the UFD Tech channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see y'all in the next video.